Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well and having a great Friday so far. In today's forecast update, we're going to be talking about the storm system that'll start to move in really by today, but by tomorrow it'll start to impact much of the central and eastern U.S. And this storm system will bring winter weather to many as well as severe weather. And then later on in the video, we'll be talking about our second system that will start to move in by early to the middle portion of next week. So let's go ahead and get started with the update. First here, looking at the 12Z GFS weather model, and as you can see into the western US here, we already have that energy moving in for our system, this weekend system, and we already have snow falling into quite a bit of the western US, especially into the higher elevations there. And then by about really tonight into early tomorrow on Saturday, you're going to have snow all the way up here into portions of the north central U.S. as well as the Great Lakes region. And there you can see our low finally developing by tomorrow morning. And then as we get into the later hours tomorrow morning, you already have snow falling into, again, portions of the kind of central U.S., north central U.S., even up here into the Ohio Valley as well. And then you have your severe weather threats starting to develop by midday Saturday, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And then by again about midday Saturday, you have this pretty I would say moderate to heavy snow band up here into the Great Lakes and into the north portions of the northeast. And you also have a wintry mix here falling into portions of the Alps. And then by tomorrow night, you have that system really getting going, and you have a pretty, again, light to moderate, maybe heavy snow band up here into the Great Lakes region, northeast, basically into really southern New England as well, and then out here into the Midwest as well. And then you have your severe weather threat to the south, and you have a pretty strong line of storms moving to the east across the kind of mid-south and deep south. Then by Sunday morning, you again have that snow wrapping around there, that cold air wrapping around that system. You have again a wintry mix up here into portions of the northeast and into New England. And then by about midday to Sunday, you have a pretty heavy snow band moving here into Maine and as well as portions of the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region, with another not as major severe weather threats kind of on Sunday, but still there is going to be a severe weather threat for portions of the southeast on Sunday. And by Sunday night into Monday, you finally have that system moving off, and especially around that low pressure by late Sunday night, you could have some very heavy snow falling up here into the northeast, especially into Maine, and even some kind of back end or wraparound snow falling into the Great Lakes region, northeast, and Appalachians as well. And that would finally pretty much get out of there by about Monday, early Monday night into at least early on Tuesday. Now looking at the GEFS ensemble and looking at our snowfall mean, and we're going to be looking at the entire US here for this system, our weekend system. And first starting out really in the western US, some of these areas, especially into the Cascades, could see quite a bit of snow, as you have some areas seeing a snowfall mean of even up to 20 inches in some areas into the Cascades. And then into the Rockies as well, you're going to expect quite a bit of snow into the higher elevations as well, well over a foot mean snowfall average there into some of these areas, into Idaho, even into Wyoming, Montana, Utah as well, and even out here into Colorado and northern New Mexico, you have a snowfall mean of at least 8, 9, and 10 inches. Then if we look farther out to the east and starting kind of into the central U.S., again, you're going to have that potential for snow as you have that system that'll move farther to the east this weekend, and you have into much of the Midwest a 3, 4, 5, and maybe even 6-inch snowfall average into some of these areas, but mainly a 4 to 5 inch snowfall average across Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska especially, into Minnesota, Wisconsin, And then as we get further to the east into the Ohio Valley, you have that snowfall mean start to increase even more. And especially into Michigan here, you have a snowfall mean of around 8 to even 9 and 10 inches. Into Ohio as well, you have that upwards of 5 to 4 and 5 inches there. And then as you get again further to the east into the northeast and kind of mid-Atlantic mostly, you have the snowfall average increasing even more into New York State, Pennsylvania, even into New York State. Some areas seeing, you have some areas even having a foot snowfall average there into New York State. And then as you get a little bit farther to the south, that decreases just a little bit to 2 and 3 inches into New Jersey as well. And then into Pennsylvania, you have an average around 2 to 3 inches. Then further into the northeast, looking at Vermont and New Hampshire here, you have a pretty similar snowfall mean of around 4 to maybe 5 inches in some areas. Into Massachusetts here, you have that mean around 4 and 5 inches. Into Connecticut, Rhode Island, maybe around 1 to 2 inches. And then as you get up into Maine, especially northern Maine, some of these areas could see an average of about 12 inches, so about a foot or a little over a foot. And areas south of that could see at least 5, maybe 5 and 6, maybe even 7 inches there for the average for Maine. And then as we get kind of further to the south here, we'll go down to basically the upper south here, and even into Oklahoma as well. You have a 1/2 inch snowfall mean. Arkansas, 1/2 inch. Tennessee, Kentucky, maybe a 1/2 inch to maybe 1 inch. And then as you get even into West Virginia, some of these areas could see 1 to maybe 3 inches for that average there. And really that's going to be about it for our snowfall average with this upcoming weekend system. Now switching to the severe weather side of this, and so this is the day 2 outlook valid for Saturday, February the 15th. And so we already have an enhanced risk down here into portions of southwestern Tennessee, kind of southeastern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, quite a bit of Mississippi, and western Alabama as well. A slight risk around that all the way from Tennessee into Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, East Texas, into Arkansas. And a marginal risk around that, a level 1 out of 5, all the way from Kentucky into portions of extreme southeastern Missouri, Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma, eastern Texas, into Florida, the Panhandle of Florida that is, and into Georgia as well, into Tennessee and far southwestern North Carolina. And if we look at our tornado risk here, we already have a 10% hatch risk, and the hatch risk here in that dashed area with the black lines, that means a 10% or greater probability of EF2 to EF5 tornadoes occurring within 25 miles of a point in this area. And so again, that is a 10% with a hatch risk around that. And then around that in that brown color is a 5% tornado risk in the areas there, and that green color is a 2% tornado risk in those areas around that for Saturday. And as well, we have a 30% wind risk for Saturday in that red color, a 15% wind risk in the yellow color, and a 5% wind risk in the brown color there. And then finally, looking at our hail risk is not as great as the tornado and wind risk, but it is still there. We have a 15% risk of hail in that yellow color, and a 5% risk of hail in that brown color there. Now looking at the HRRR weather model, the 12Z run for the HRRR for Saturday. And so as we get into late tonight, you're already going to have some kind of showers and storms already moving into Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, into Kentucky as well. And then as you can see, we already have that wintry mix to the north of that. And as we get to tomorrow morning on Saturday, you have those storms finally starting to get some strength. And you have most of the instability farther to the south, but some of these kind of showers and storms further to the north could still have some heavy rain with that and some wind as well. But then by about midday Saturday tomorrow, you have that first initial, not initial, but that line finally starting to get its act together, and you already have some storms out ahead of this where that instability is in those colors there. That is our surface-based cape. And you have these storms out ahead of that line, and these are the storms we're going to need to watch for sure. If we look at our low-level jet, you're going to have into some of these areas where those storms get going, you're going to have a even 40 to 50 knot low-level jet, and that is a perfect really recipe with that instability for tornadoes, with the combination of those two. And then as we get farther into the day, the HRRR even picks up on more isolated storms out ahead of this line out here into Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas as well. And again, these are going to be the dangerous storms. I'm not saying these storms out here won't be dangerous, but these will definitely need to be watched tomorrow for sure. But this line again will still be dangerous as well, because it's going to have a wind risk with that, and also that tornado risk with this line. It's going to have a basically embedded tornado risk within the line, so you won't be able to see these tornadoes. If there were to be a tornado to occur, you would not be able to see it because visibility would be too low. And as we get into tomorrow evening on Saturday, you have that line getting going, especially across Kentucky, Western Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and this is going to pack a punch for sure. And you're going to have some, again, damaging winds out ahead of this and along this line of storms. And that is going to continue on to the east and still maintain much of its strength all the way into very early on Sunday, especially into Georgia, Alabama, the Panhandle, Florida, even up here into the Carolinas as well, eastern Tennessee. Those areas are still going to be impacted by winds. But that tornado risk for the most part should begin to wind down hopefully by late tomorrow night. But you're still going to have a amped up low level jet with that, and you're going to have again another round of storms on Sunday as that line continues to move farther to the east. And now looking at Sunday's severe weather threat, and so this is the latest 0830Z outlook here for Sunday. And so you have a marginal risk all the way from Maryland into basically the eastern Carolinas, Virginia there, and into Georgia, as well as the big band of Florida for again Sunday. And then right there is our probabilistic there, and that 5% means that automatic marginal risk at the day 3 range. And just real quick, looking at Sunday's severe weather threat tier, and so you're not going to have a whole lot of instability, but you have just a little in place. But the low level jet will pretty much make up for most of that instability, because you're just going to have an extremely strong low level jet across the southeast, especially into the eastern Carolinas. Some of these areas show a 70 to almost 80 knot low level jet in some of these areas, and that is very dangerous, especially if you can get moisture up into these areas, which I think again will probably not have a quite as robust severe weather threat as we're going to have tomorrow on Saturday, but still you're going to have severe weather for those areas, especially into the southeast for Sunday. Finally, looking at our system for next week, and so if we back this up a little bit here on the 12Z GFS weather model, you're already going to have snow falling into portions of the central and northwestern U.S. for Monday into Tuesday, and our system is going to slowly start to move in, and by Tuesday morning you're already going to have snow associated with that system start to move into the central U.S., especially into Nebraska and Kansas as well. And then you could potentially see a wintry mix maybe late Tuesday night into some of these areas, into Oklahoma, maybe Arkansas as well. Then if we zoom in just a little bit here, by Tuesday night you have that system slowly making its way kind of to the east. It does not again look very strong right here, but it's going to start to strengthen up a little bit. But you have maybe a light snow band all the way into the Ohio Valley. It's snow as far south as even Arkansas. as well, maybe by early Wednesday morning. And again, this is going to change quite a bit, so do not take this one run as it's going to happen, because the signal is definitely there for a winter weather event further to the south. But the latest GFS shows that with a wintry mix into North Carolina, Virginia, even to Tennessee, with rain to the south of that. And it does not show a whole lot until basically Wednesday night, and it starts to get a low pressure developing out here off the coast of the Carolinas, and has a pretty heavy, quick hitting snow event for maybe, I would say, Delaware, into Maryland and Virginia, into New Jersey as well. But again, this is going to change a lot still over the next couple of days, and we can't really pinpoint the finer details until we get a little bit closer. But that's just again what the latest GFS shows. And if we look at the European weather model here, we'll look at the 06Z run. Still shows the same, pretty much same scenario for the south central US, with a bit of a wintry mix there into even Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and it shows snow even almost basically into almost southern Arkansas by Tuesday night into Wednesday. And you still have that light snow band associated with that moving across portions of the upper south and Ohio Valley. And it shows a low pressure again, probably getting to the east, and you have another winter weather event across further portions further south into Mississippi, even northern Alabama, showing some snow for Wednesday night to early on Thursday, and then as a wintry mix out here into portions of the Carolinas. And that, as far as that run goes. But if we go to the 0Z run here, shows that further to the north, and so there has just been a one click, not one click, but one run trend further to the south with this. So just take that in mind. This could still trend farther to the north, or again farther to the south. But then it wants to show a pretty much a nor'easter there by midday Thursday for the northeast and mid-Atlantic. So again, this is just a scenario we're going to have to continue to watch, and we can't again pinpoint any of the fine details, but the GFS and European are still a little bit different. So once they get an agreement, we can start to finally look at more of the smaller details with this. And then even if we look at we'll look at the European AI model here just on the run, and it shows a winter weather event quite a bit further to the south. I mean, it has winter weather occurring almost into central Mississippi, even into northern Louisiana by Wednesday, and it would have again snow further to the south, and would actually deliver a bit of a winter weather event for portions of eastern North Carolina and areas even into South Carolina and Georgia as well. So it is basically taking the track of the GFS, but it's getting that cold air well into that system where there can be snow further to the south. But that'll be about it for the discussion of next week's system. So that'll be it for today's update. I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I may have another video out this weekend, but I'm not too sure on that. And if I can't get one out this weekend, then I will definitely get one out next week before the system starts to move in. Our system next week starts to move in, and we'll finally start to be able to discuss that in more depth. But again, I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I appreciate all of y'all who have returned to the channel and returned to my videos, and have continued to support the channel. And I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's Valentine's Day, and have a great Saturday.